What's up everyone, Drew Binsky here. In continuation of my country comparison series, today I present you with Korea, the North versus South. I'm sure many of you guys, like myself, are specifically interested in this episode because you've heard how opposite the two countries are. You've heard about the DMZ, or Demilitarized Zone, the most heavily guarded border in the world. You've heard about Kim Jong-un, who is rumored to be dead as I speak this, and you likely know a thing or two about South Korean pop culture.
Oppan Gangnam Style!
But what is life really like in North and South Korea apart from what the media tells us? Are they really as opposite as we think? After spending over 2 years living in South Korea, not only did I become conversational in the Korean language,
한국에서 빨간 머리 봤어요?
but I also learned a lot about its culture and history. This inspired me to take a fascinating trip to Pyongyang, North Korea a few years ago, right before Americans became banned to visit. In this video, I'm gonna share with you my thoughts about the two nations, and we begin with the similarities. The Korean peninsula is located west of Japan and just below the southeastern tip of Russia. That means freezing cold winters and mild summers. Both countries, which are about the same size in area, are very green, mountainous, and densely populated. Since the beginning of humanity up until 1953, Korea was one country with one language, one race, and one cuisine. That's why today they still share the same common last names such as Kim, Lee, and Park, because they come from the same family dynasties. Despite being separated for the last 67 years, the Korean language roots are virtually the same across the border. Only one has evolved and one hasn't. It's kind of like Old British English versus American English. When looking at the physical features of the people, the faces in the north are hardly different from the south, unless you consider plastic surgery, which South Korea is the world leader. And when it comes to food, both are kimchi-loving spicy food eaters, where you can find similar menu items. Both North and South Koreans have a deep love and respect for their elders. They bow to show appreciation, use a more polite dialect, and use two hands when giving or receiving something. When it comes to holidays, all 76 million Koreans living in the North and the South celebrate the same Korean New Year's and Korean Thanksgiving Day called Chuseok. And lastly, both are excellent at ping pong, badminton, and taekwondo, and in general, they love to have fun. Yes, even in North Korea, you can see people singing and dancing with family and friends and enjoying life. Okay, now we're gonna move onwards to the key differences. South Korea is a very capitalistic, first world society run by President Moon Jae-in, whereas its northern neighbors are living in a communist hermit kingdom. The dictator of North Korea is Kim Jong-un, and the locals look up to him as a god, or at least they are pressured to think that way. The previous two dictators were his father, Kim Jong-il, and grandfather, Kim Il-sung, who are standing strong in this monument. The economies of the two nations are polar opposites. South Korea is the world's 12th biggest economy, home to massive brands like Samsung, LG, and Kia. In North Korea, well, let's just say they don't produce much, as their GDP per capita ranks 179th. South Korea actually feels very Americanized with their consumer-driven society, well-liked pop culture idols, and they even use English words to replace Korean words such as shopping, computer, and makeup. In the North, you won't find any internationally recognized brands or even street signs. It's the only country in the world where I haven't seen Coca-Cola, and the streets overall feel very dark and gloomy and depressing. In South Korea, it's quite the opposite. It feels bright and happy on every corner. Both Koreas have different education and military systems. The military duty in the South, which is mandatory for all males, is only 21 months long, but in North Korea, it's 10 years long. This means that the dating culture in the North is much older because men are spending their entire 20s in uniform. Fashion trends on both sides of the border are totally different. On the streets of Pyongyang, you'll see people wearing solid colors, mostly black and white, and the government actually bans skinny jeans, miniskirts, and certain hairstyles. But in Seoul, you'll notice that South Koreans have the freedom to wear whatever they want, heavily inspired by K-pop idols and Western trends. It seems as if the rest of Asia is always trying to catch up with South Korea in terms of fashion. The final big difference between the two nations is the internet. North Korea is the world's most isolated country because they don't really have internet, at least not for anyone who isn't elite. As a result, they are not influenced by ideas or trends happening outside of its borders. When I was there, I asked several people if they've ever heard of Facebook, and not a single person said yes. On the opposite side of the spectrum are the South Koreans, who live in the most connected country in the world in terms of Wi-Fi availability with the fastest speeds, and in all honesty, they are obsessed with the internet. No matter where you go, you'll see them glued to their phone screens 24/7. It's absolutely bizarre. So as you guys can see, I absolutely love talking about North and South Korea because I spent so much time living and traveling on the peninsula. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world, and I really hope to go back there soon whenever it is possible again. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. Stay safe, wash your hands, and I will see you later. I'm Drew Binsky, and if you like my travel videos, please click subscribe and join me as I plan to visit every country in the world.